Hello guys and gals, my name is Soulfax and welcome to another long overdue episode of War Thunder Weekly, a news-like video series in which we go over and discuss all the ways Gaijin made us laugh and cry in the past couple of weeks. Now this video is a bit late. My initial intention was to cover the events prior to the release of the newest update, but I horribly failed in managing my personal time, so this video will cover the update itself and everything surrounding it. As most of you know, the latest update our Overlord Gaijin blessed us with is called Desert Hunters, and it's numbered 1.63 because let's just throw out random numbers out there, it's more interesting that way. And again, as most of you know, this update brought a lot of new vehicles alongside a slew of visual and engine improvements, which primarily intend to make the quality of life for us players just a little bit better, but that's not what I want to focus on today. Today I want to focus a little bit more on the vehicles that were introduced because they are the most interesting part of this update. So with that being said, I will be staying true to the quote-unquote order in which the nations appear in the hangar, so let's start with, naturally, the United States of America. Gaijin was surprisingly generous towards the Yanks with this update, giving them two highly anticipated top-tier vehicles and a few decent additions to the middle tiers. And of course, with the way War Thunder is progressing, it is only natural that Gaijin keeps with the tradition of adding more and more post-World War II vehicles, and the new M163 Vulcan is no exception. It had its debut in 1968, that is relatively recent. It even took part in Vietnam and is still in semi-active service. But from my point of view, it is Gaijin's attempt to level the playing field, because every nation in War Thunder that has a ground forces nation attached to it, that's a weird sentence, had a new Tier 5 SPAAG given to them in this patch. That's another weird sentence. Moving on. It looks to be a decent addition to the game, but it's a little bit ugly, but you really can't have everything. But anyhow, moving on, the next addition to the US Ground Forces tree is the M56 Scorpion, a Tier 4 6.7 battle rating tank destroyer, which is surprisingly in the light tank line in the tree. Yeah, that's kinda weird. This tank destroyer was first produced in 1953, so it's again a post-World War II vehicle. It saw some very limited use during the Vietnam War, but more interesting is the fact that out of the three nations that actually purchased this vehicle was exported to, those being Spain, Morocco and South Korea, surprisingly enough, Morocco was the only one to deploy it in combat. It was sometime during the Western Saharan War, so yeah, fun facts are fun. It bears a lot of similarities to the recently added ASU-57. It was a vehicle meant to be used by the US Airborne Forces, but unlike the ASU-57, which was designed to be parachuted, it is designed to be actually helicoptered to the area, and that's pretty much where the similarities end. I don't know why I made that comparison. They are both very small vehicles. It is equipped with the M56 90mm cannon, which is much similar to the other American Tier 4 90mm cannons, with the added bonus of being able to load Heat FS, so the Scorpion looks like a legendary glass cannon in the making. The last US Ground Forces added in this patch is the hilariously expensive, unreasonably expensive T-20. It is a Tier 3 premium medium tank, which I will not talk about on principle, because it's a premium tank and it has the added advantage of being completely boring and being unreasonably priced. Moving on, the only Air Force edition that has been added in this update is the long-awaited and overhyped F9 F8 Cougar. It finally made its appearance with its amazing looks, but the looks is probably the only thing this airplane has going for it. The hype train is real, and from reading some reviews on its performance, the hype train has already crashed and burned. The Cougar is the direct successor to the F9 F5 Panther that was in the game prior to this update, but the improvements in speed and flight characteristics are, from what I've read, minimal at best, and in some facets the Cougar is even worse than the Panther. But take this with a grain of salt. I do not own either of these aircraft, and I'm basing this assumption on the discussions that I've read and the stat cards of both of these planes, so yeah, I might, in the end, be completely wrong on this one. Moving on to more interesting nations, I'm totally not biased here, Germany arguably received the most love in this update with the introduction of no less than 3 top-tier ground forces vehicles and the biggest, most badass aircraft the world has ever seen. But first, let's get something touchy out of the way. The truth is that the newly added Leopard A1A1 and the Raketenjägerpanzer II HOT are only marginally different when it comes to the in-game performance compared to the earlier versions we already had in-game. The upgrades these vehicles received in real life were in most part quality of life improvements for the crew using them, and are thus not represented in War Thunder. This really sounded like some sort of public service announcement. Okay, moving on. But yeah, the Leopard A1A1 is the new top tier German medium main battle tank combination in War Thunder, and like I just said, the differences between it and the Leopard A1A1, just the Leopard A1, are almost non-existent. They share the same cannon which fires the same ammo at the same velocity with the same penetration values. They are both equipped with the same engine and the armor protection is still utter shit. But despite all of that, the A1A1 Leopard is a welcomed addition because now Germans will finally have a backup vehicle that does not suck after they lose their first Leopard. But yeah, all in all, it's a great addition to the game and we're gonna move on. So keeping this redundant theme going of reviewing vehicles that are virtually the same to each other, the Raketenjagdpanzer HOT differs from its younger brother by the missile it uses. And that's it. No, really, that is it. There are no other changes that are present on the newer version of the Raketenjagdpanzer 2 HOT that translate into War Thunder as actual game mechanics, or that we can measure by some parameters or some things, I don't know. The only single difference that I've been able to find is that the missile that Raketenjagdpanzer 2 HOT fires has 800mm of penetration instead of, I think it was like 500, I really don't know, which is almost enough to penetrate the multiple layers of salt that crusted over the community when our favorite seal clubber was introduced, the Tupolev 4. I love bringing up that vehicle because it's still in the game. The last of the 3 top-tier vehicles Germany received in this latest update is the Flakpanzer 1 Gepard, and no, it's not a Tier 1 2.0 battle rating SPAA, it's a Tier 5 8.0 battle rating SPAA that is based on the chassis of a Leopard 1 and equipped with 2 35mm insert word that I cannot pronounce, KDA cannons. Yeah, it's the new Kugelblitz, it's just a little bit bigger with meaner cannons. Not gonna lie, I'm really not up for introducing these kind of vehicles into the game because they make for some awful playing when you get killed by an SPAA and you're in a heavy tank. That's really not how I like playing this game. But at this point, I just don't care anymore. I'm not planning on getting Tier 5 with the allies anytime soon, so currently this will not affect me, but it will affect you, so fight against it. Don't play SPAAs like tank destroyers. Please don't do it. And finally, we come to the vehicle which made me realize Gaijin just don't care about mid-tier balance anymore. The Blom & Voss BV238 is an abomination that has a wingspan of 60 meters, weighs 95 tons when fully loaded, and is powered by 6 engines. Yes, that is 6 Daimler-Benz 603G engines, which all produce just shy of 2000 horsepower on takeoff. It can carry up to 5 tons of bomb load, and if that isn't bad enough, did I mention it has guns? It has a lot of guns, 18 defensive guns to be exact. 16 of those are 30mm MG131s mounted in the 4 turrets, 4 guns each, and the 2 are 20mm MG151 cannons in 1 fully traversable turret on top of the aircraft. This all comes at a very fair battle rating of 3.3 in realistic battles. And to add insult to injury, it's a premium vehicle, albeit one less expensive than the American TIG-20, but still, just why? Why is this thing in the game? This thing is so OP, it hurt my heart and my wallet when I went ahead and purchased it, because I want to be competitive. Wallet warrior to the max. Well, that about wraps up the Germans in a nice pay-to-win bow, and now we can move on to the Russians, or the Soviets, depending on which type of autocracy you prefer. With Gaijin being a Russian-based game dev company, it's normal and expected of them to provide their own nation with a lot of goodies every update, which makes this patch a surprise to all of us really. Russia received only one actually competitive vehicle in this update, and that would be the ZSU-23-4 Shilak SPAG. Yes, it's another one of those. It's Tier 5 battle rating 8.0 vehicle equipped with the AZP 23mm cannons, which are mightily reminiscent of the cannons that were used on the aircrafts of the Illusion series. Not much is really to be said about this one. It's another modern, ugly-looking, bulky anti-aircraft platform that will do just fine in the current meta, so let's just move on. Speaking of anti-aircraft duty, the Su-6 is the new top-tier Russian ground pounder and the only Russian aircraft introduced in this update, and it's really not very good at anti-aircraft duty. with a top speed just slightly lower than the last iteration of the Illusion series, the IL-10, and having the added disadvantage of being equipped with 37mm cannons like on the IL-237, it's really not going to excel at fighting aircrafts. It is still, in theory, a capable ground attack aircraft, but much like the IL-10, they both have really high battle ratings of 5.3, which will make it extremely hard for even the best pilots to perform when even the worst fighter aircraft at this battle rating can run circles around you while you try to aimlessly shoot at AI tanks. But wait, there's more! Actually, there isn't. I'm lying. Besides the aforementioned vehicles, only 2 more were added in this patch. The GAZ DSHK, which is just another low-tier flak truck, really not worth talking about, and the KV-122, which is a premium prototype heavy tank that is just yet another proof that Soviet Russia tried to stick a 122mm cannon on everything that had tracks on it and hope it would make for a good vehicle. Naturally, it didn't. In a highly unusual fashion, Gaijin actually didn't screw the Brits over this patch and they received a bunch of new, highly competitive vehicles. Yes, I am as surprised as you are. Starting with the ground vehicles, the first regular 3 British ATGM equipped vehicle, that's a mouthful of a sentence. The FV438 Swingfire made a debut appearance and shocked absolutely nobody with its utmost mediocrity. Is that even a word? Moving on. I'm actually just kidding. It looks to be one of the best ATGMs around there, due to the simple fact that it can fire 2 missiles in rapid successions before having to reload. But other than that, there's really not much to say about this one, since in practice all of these ATGM equipped vehicles play and work in a very similar fashion. The only remaining British non-premium vehicle that was added in this patch is the Brigand B-1 attack aircraft. It's labeled as a light bomber in the game, but I think it's more of an attack aircraft, so I'm gonna call it like that. It's a tier 4 vehicle with a battle rating of 4.3, despite standing after the Mosquito FB Mark 18 that has a battle rating of 4.7. Yeah, that's kind of a strange situation right there. In short, the Brigand looks to me like more maneuverable Mosquito with a slightly altered loadout, more suitable for actually attacking ground targets. Unfortunately, no nation is free of the premium plague that's been wreaking havoc the past few updates, so this patch the Brits got 2 weird premiums. The first is the A1E1 Independent Heavy Tank, a failed British interwar attempt at making a decent tank, and the Hudson Mark V, an American light bomber borrowed by the Brits. That's all I'm saying about these premiums. Moving on. Last but not least come the Japanese, who have surprisingly actually received a few aircrafts to complement their overly expensive to repair Air Force. The biggest addition to this update is the P1J1 or the P1Y1, don't know which one of those it is, Mod 11. It's an aircraft that is a part of the P1J1 or P1Y1 family of dive bombers. It looks really neat, but without a cockpit, my initiative to fly this aircraft is really non-existent. It looks like a decent aircraft, but I'm not going to talk about it. Following the trend of dual-engine planes, the J1N1 is a low-tier heavy fighter that has some of the weirdest defensive armament I have ever seen. Like, how does this work? It's equipped with 2 forward-firing 7.7 machine guns and 1 20mm cannon. But the weird armament, how does this work? Those are 4 7.7mm cannons, 7.7mm machine guns that are remotely operated by one of these guys, and I don't know which one exactly. Can they even like traverse around? I don't know. It looks awesome, but I'm afraid it's going to be shitty. The last Japanese aircraft to be added in this patch is the premium K1-87, the most modern of the Japanese piston fighters in the game, and of course it's a premium and an expensive one at that, so completely screw that. And that's it, that's pretty much all the things that I wanted to talk about. Hope you enjoyed the video. My name has been Soulfax and I will see you some other time. Bye bye.